Welcome to the Impactful Engineer Project. I'm Steve Maxey, and with my co-host and brother Jake, we are here to bring you guidance, fresh ideas, and the tools to help you become an impactful engineer.
Today on The Impactful Engineer, I'm here with my brother Steve and a special guest for an authentic conversation around engineering and personal development. Our goal is to create an environment for career excellence targeted towards engineering professionals. We believe that being open about what we've learned in our own careers will benefit others in their unique engineering journey. Ultimately, we want people to have fulfilled careers and be inspired to become the best versions of themselves.
This podcast has a few episode types. Our standard episode format has Jake and I presenting a topic. We introduce the why and the how around the topic and give some tips to get the conversation going and inspire some action. Usually this will be based on something you can deploy in your daily career. Often this includes a mindset shift we invite you to consider moving forward because we know and have experienced the power behind embracing mindset changes.
The second type of episode we have a solo episode that is usually a quick and down to the point one where we have an idea that we want to share with the group or the community. Typically, again, a mindset, a strategy, or a tactic, making yourselves and those around you increase their potential in their career. It's something that we're really passionate about or close to, or that would otherwise just not make a good full-length episode. Being solo episodes, these have more of a feeling like a lecture with a little bit of fire mixed in. We call these episodes Wednesday Wisdom.
About once a month, including today, we will bring on a guest that has an expertise in a particular field and share their perspective, mindset, strategies, and actionable tips based around their area of genius. The overall goal being to provide exposure to multiple thought processes and views in areas that will help you succeed. And if we don't do that, we usually end up having a great time. Anyway, so you will find some golden nuggets in there if you listen really closely.
And lastly, we have a newsletter. Comes out weekly. It reinforces the why, the how, and the action to take some involving some of the highest impact activities you can do in your career and to boost your confidence. Check that out by navigating to impactfulengineering.com or signing up through questions@impactfulengineer.com. All right, so now to the show. We have a very special guest with us today. That is Stephanie Young. Stephanie has an impressive career in the semiconductor industry and volunteership with the Society of Women Engineers. I have personally heard how wonderful she is from my discussions with an engineer that I work with in my own company. This Hallam ICS engineer can't say enough about the support, the encouragement, and the mentorship she receives from Stephanie. From one of the conversations we've had with Stephanie, I can tell she's deeply passionate about her message and has some of that fire deep within that Steve and I can relate to. I feel it very important to give her this platform for discussion, and we are super excited to have her on the show. So welcome, Stephanie, to the show.
Thank you so much. I'm looking forward to talking to you all today.
Excellent. So what I'd really like to do is just to kind of get out of your way, allow you to tell your story, your work with the Society of Women Engineers, and some of the most important things you want to share. As you know, we keep it pretty casual. So if our conversation is anything like our first one, we'll end up with some good stuff. So I guess just to prime the conversation, I'd love for you to talk about how and why you got involved with SWE and or really just, whatever you want to start with. Take it away.
Sounds good. Yeah, I'm happy to talk about SWE. I've been with SWE for 17 years now. And as someone who's recently hit their mid-career, that seems like a lot longer than I feel like I've been in the professional industry, but it's true. I joined as a collegiate, actually, my first day of college. I'm really passionate about women, equity, and inclusion, and it galled me even from a very young age that there was this idea that women couldn't somehow do something that men could easily do. And so when I joined college, they had a fair, and the first thing I saw was Society of Women Engineers, and I put two and two together. I'm a woman and an engineer. Let's go. But as I got more involved with SWE, their mission is what really stayed with me, not just throughout college, but into transitioning into my professional career and throughout all the different stages of my professional career thus far. Society of Women Engineers is actually an international organization, 40,000 women engineers strong, and really looking to help fuel the pipeline of women in engineering, all the way from supporting K through 12 outreach with girls, STEM outreach, as well as helping and supporting professionals through each stage of their career into retirement. And that is a really inspirational place for me to be, because as far as moving pay equity and moving women and supporting women, pay equity comes from supporting women getting into these particular high paying, typically white collar roles and enabling them to thrive and succeed. We see more and more women entering the engineering workforce. There's still a glass ceiling with getting them through higher level promotions and into the executive and C-suite. And so there's a lot of work that we need to do, but it starts out with having representation, showing that young girls that there are people like them that can do engineering, are great leaders, and are able to help change the world.
Yeah, it's important at all stages of life. Like you're talking about K through 12 outreach, and then as soon as you got into college, they were there for you, all the way through starting your career. I mean, graduating, starting your career, moving their way up, having that available to someone across that entire time span. I mean, that's so important. I personally have worked with a group called the ACE Mentorship Program, where we do bring in high school students and teach them about architecture, construction, and engineering. And I love being a part of that program. And it's mainly just so that we can show ourselves as industry professionals that are just normal people, too, that are here to encourage, to support, to be an ally, to help. So that's amazing. The work you're doing is great.
Thanks.
You'd mentioned diversity, equity, and inclusion. And so I would love to dive deep into that, and especially with the work with SWE and how that shows up in that organization, how you are, not only speaking about it. I know you do a lot of speaking events and stuff like that, but some of the how-to, some of the biggest gaps you see, and how you're trying to fill those gaps. Hey, my fellow impactful engineers. If there's one thing that you could do to help out this community, it's to keep listening to the podcast, but also, if you found value in it, to share it with one person, give us a 5-star review, or even leave a text review. It'll only take a few seconds of your time. Find that person that you think could enjoy some of this or learn from it, and pass on the good word. Now back to the show.
Yeah, actually, I think that the lingo around this space is constantly changing. And I know that Society of Women Engineers really champions diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really trying to get at the sense that we're trying to have everybody feel like they belong in this space, because that's how we work best together. That's how we thrive as ourselves and as organized groups, trying to solve the world's hardest problems. And so I really love that addition of that belonging. And just to get behind each one of those, like diversity obviously is making sure that we have a group of diverse backgrounds all coming together to solve that problem. Everyone has something to bring to the table, someone brand new, someone with a different type of educational background, non-traditional, someone with a different background culturally. Those are all opportunities for us to think more outside the box and be more innovative. Inclusion is about making sure that we're bringing all of those voices together,
Mm-hmm.
making sure that we're accessing all of that diversity. Equity is about making sure that we're providing support as that the individual or the group needs it. I love the comparison between equity and equality. Equality is just making sure that everybody gets exactly the same thing. You get the same size tennis shoes and the same brand, but that's not actually useful if you don't fit into those tennis shoes, or if they're not right for your feet, or let's say you might have a disability and might not have both feet. That's not actually useful. Equity is making sure that we're providing the support and resources as each individual can leverage and utilize them best. And sometimes that means, let's say boosting a message that maybe maybe isn't being heard as well as another's message. Sometimes that also means recognizing and monitoring a room to make sure that the voices are being given space to have an impact. And making sure that we have equitable pay, right? I think that's the biggest way that we talk about equitability in our broader communities and our broader employer opportunities for equity. But then I really love this concept of belonging that they added to it, because I think that it's one thing to make sure that we're hearing the voices, that we're properly supporting it, but there's the psychological safety that comes with feeling like, yes, I am not just asked to be here, but I am like championed and I belong here, and everyone recognizes that. And I think that psychological safety is what possibly that last element that corporations really need to kind of overcome and make sure that people feel truly engaged.
Yeah.
So that's something that I'm really passionate about, and I really like how SWE articulates that. I could go further into detail on the how-tos, absolutely, especially from especially if you're looking at an engineering workforce. It's typically, especially in the United States and around the world, a male-dominated field, and in the United States, a white male-dominated field. And so we absolutely need the allyship and advocacy of male allies in order to turn the tide and increase our DEIB diversity and succeed in DEIB. And so I hear a lot of questions from my male counterparts that are actively looking for help on understanding what they need to do.
Perfect. Us too, and we're here to learn. So this is, you're hitting on it right now. So keep going. Yes, this is what we want to talk about.
Yeah, sure. I did a talk with at the Society of Women Engineers conference in Anaheim, California, a few years ago. And there are quite a few men at that conference. And I will tell you, the career fair was packed full, yet my talk was full of mostly women and people of color. And so I think it's important for people who are looking to really truly support an underrepresented group, whether it's women, whether it's people of color, or any sort of underrepresented group, it means taking an active role in the success of the outcome. It means spending time and energy, especially upfront, educating yourself and lifting up others' voices so that they can be heard. One of the things early in my allyship career was, I'm a very outspoken person. I can be very loud, and I don't have any problems advocating for myself and women. As I started spending time in allyship spaces, I had the recognition that, hey, maybe my voice is actually not the right one to be doing the speaking. And my favorite phrase is passing the mic. Taking a step back, checking your ego and your goals at the door, and making sure as an ally and an advocate, you are actively supporting the goals of the people you're trying to advocate for, and magnifying their voices. It means going to a Society of Women Engineers conference and not hogging up the line in front of all the interviewee booths and going to those allyship talks. You could probably even do both, but make sure you're going to some talks and using that time there and that resource there effectively. And it sometimes also means taking a step back and sharing the wealth. We know that our world and our professional worlds are very network oriented. And so if you are in a position of power, mentor a woman. Women need a whole host of different type of mentors, including male mentors and sponsors. And that's how women, people of color, anybody that you're trying to provide allyship to, that's having those networks and broader connections actually helps them be more successful. So, I very much would love to, I love that all of these men are asking me how to get involved and how to help. I would love to see them getting together, really trying to organize and do some research on like, okay, what can we do for these people? How can we take our metrics and make them better and use their problem solving to do that instead of asking me how to do it? I'm like, I need you.
Very good. Holy cow. Okay, a lot to dive in there. I mean, go back and listen to it again and again and again. But the one thing that I will highlight right now, just because I feel passionate about it, is taking the opportunity at your current workplace. You're going to be there 8 to 10 hours a day, every single day, because you need to. You need to live. You need to pay for your family. You have aspirations on your own. Take the chance to do something within your own company that's going to allow people to learn how to be an ally, how to be supportive. And you can start without having any women in your company, right? You can. So learn how to do that for people. And it takes a special set of skills, and it takes some understanding. It takes empathy. I used to think I knew what that meant. I feel like I'm much closer to knowing what that means now throughout my career in the last 3 to 4 years. And if you don't know how to start that, then reach out to us and ask us how you could start that action. We can get you rolling. What I do in my company is I'm an open door, and I respond quickly. I do not just let messages or outreach for help or for needing that one-on-one or getting stuck on something that's not hey, how do I circuit this panel board? It's a question of, man, I really don't know what the hell I'm doing, and I'm getting a lot of judgment, I feel like, and I'm scared, I'm lost. It's like I help people with that too, a lot, right? And just that little conversation that you could have with each other, just being candid, can help someone lift a huge weight off of their mind, and they can walk through and go, okay, Jake's been in the industry for 10 years. He seems like he's good at what he does. And he told me that I get to release this off my shoulders and do something this way. And maybe this will help me. So they feel better, about walking through that and continuing on in their career. I know that's very vague, but I would say just starting with having that open door and being responsive and supportive is going to go very far.
Yeah, I kind of wanted to build off of what you just said there, if that's all right.
Go for it.
I love what you said about, being able to admit when you have questions or aren't sure about something. And I think everyone experiences that, regardless of whatever background you have. one of the things that one of the more modern dialogues on imposter syndrome, and I don't know, have you heard of the term imposter
Yes.
syndrome?
Yep.
Yeah, so it's having that sense that you're don't belong here, you're a fraud somehow. Even though you got your engineering degree, everyone's going to figure out that you don't know anything. And I think everyone experiences that to some
Hmm.
degree, but I think it's being discussed now how women are historically underestimated intellectually just from the get go, just for being women. And so there's harsher consequences whenever they raise their hands and say, I don't know actually, I don't understand what you're saying, because in an unconscious bias way, there's
There you
already
go.
this expectation socially, especially socialized, men, women, it doesn't
And
matter.
can I just
It's this.
jump in? I'm sorry. Before I lose it, I hate to cut you off. I'm sorry. But I just wanted to like say, if you get to, as a man, if you get defensive about the comment that was made that you have an unconscious bias, if you get defensive, it's because you have an unconscious bias. I've been through this myself. So I've done, the training, but then I took the training and went, okay, I'm going to dive deep into this and figure out the psychology. And I want to really learn what the hell I'm running around with that I have no idea is happening. And I really dug deep. One of the indicators is that if you get really defensive on something, it's because you have an unconscious bias towards that, and you should look deeper into that. That was one of the things that I really wanted to like get out there, because I've gone through that and come out the other side, and now I'm looking back going, I see you, I see you, little unconscious bias running around, so I can identify like when that's happening. Um, and I lost the other one, and I'm sure I totally interrupted, and now I threw it all off. But I'm very sorry. I just wanted to get that out there.
No,
Like,
absolutely. Unconscious bias is something that everybody has.
yeah.
Our brain is programmed to take shortcuts because there's a lot of data and information going into it. And so those shortcuts are evolutionary, but we have the intellect and the ability to reprogram and make sure that we're not creating shortcuts in our brain that are actually harmful and untrue.
Mm.
Just the same way that we're able to train our brains, we're able to culturally reprogram that. And so, like I said, unconscious bias is actually something that especially towards women, this unconscious bias is something that both men and women exhibit. Um, Again, because it's a cultural programming and it's not really based in anything factual.
Mm-hmm.
Women have just as much capability to understand math and engineering as men, as not a gendered experience at all. And I should actually say men, women, or anywhere in between on the gender spectrum.
Right.
And so what happens is there's a stronger penalty, and there's a feedback loop where if someone who is assumed to be male raises their hand, they're rewarded for being inquisitive, whereas women are punished by reinforcing this, again, unconscious bias. And then they get that negative feedback, which just feeds into the imposter syndrome. And so making sure, like you said, drawing out and showing and making it a safe space to ask questions, be inquisitive. I tell women that the way that I deal with imposter syndrome is radical self-empowerment. It doesn't matter that I don't know. I need to know, and I'm going to learn and I'm going to find out. And that's what I need to be successful.
Mm.
So I'm pretty much Teflon whenever I get that negative feedback loop now. If someone tries to shame me for trying to learn, does that make sense? I don't know.
Right. Be a duck.
And
That's what my wife says. Be a duck. Let it just roll. You know how the water just beads right off them? Be a duck. Don't be a cactus.
Mhm.
It might be along the
and
same lines.
and I'm kind of a sassy person, so if someone actually gives me flack for that, I'm like, oh, excuse me, I'm sorry that I'm just really interested in this and trying to learn more.
Yeah, right.
I didn't realize that was terrible.
I didn't realize that
I
what
love a
I'm trying to
crackback.
do bothered you so much.
Exactly.
Yeah. I wanted to like
Um,
say how I usually handle imposter syndrome, and I don't know if it's going to help anybody, but this is how my brain works. when I start feeling that, I go, this is something for tomorrow, Jake, to discuss. And I punt it. I go, tomorrow, Jake's going to say, we'll address this tomorrow. Write it down. We'll go talk about it. By the time I get to tomorrow and I go to talk about it, I go, I'm great. And I just keep going. And every time I get it, I go, see ya. And I throw it. I don't know how I did that, but that's just what I do.
I think that makes so much sense.
Yeah, I think imposter syndrome is actually an area you want to be in, right? Because you know you're going to be continuing to grow. If you're not residing in that area, then you're complacent and you're comfortable where you are. And so I think it is important to really grasp onto that imposter syndrome and be like, hey, I am where I need to be because I can only move upward in learning.
Nice. I like the growth and performance aspect that you just touched on there. That's awesome.
That is, I love how that was said. And, I hadn't thought about it that way, but I always say to all of my mentees, I've made a really fantastic career out of being the one that always asks the stupid questions. And I think that, Steve, the way you said it is exactly true. If you're always putting yourself in a situation that is, a little bit precarious, a little bit risky, but just really an opportunity to grow and expand your skills, those promotions, they will keep coming,
Yeah, exactly.
Totally. All right. So imposter syndrome, we kind of, hey, let's kick that down the road. And then Steve had a performance one. That's really good. And I liked your approach too, Stephanie. That's just, I think those are 3 good frames to think about it. So just try them out and see how you feel about them. So I could imagine that you have a ton of mentees, or are you selective? Do you try to go hard with a couple that you see some potential, or maybe that you just like, I want to get you over the hump before I focus elsewhere? Like, how do you split your time with all, I'm sure a ton of people want you to be a mentor.
Yes. And there's not enough time in the day. It's actually my favorite thing to do. And I think a lot of people's favorite thing to do. It's so nice to take a break from the high stress of having to be a high impact engineer, a high impact engineer.
Love it.
I hope you like that. It's nice to be able to sit down and talk about someone else's challenges and possibly provide solutions or just support and guidance. I'm a big community builder, and my preferred way of mentoring is in a group community build setting because of that. One-on-one is wonderful. I have several mentees one-on-one. I let people put time on my calendar, but it's way more impactful to be able to build a community that supports one another and proliferates out those values. And that's where I spend a lot more of my time investing. I love organizing, leading, driving strategic change. Those are my type of impacts that I can have. That being said, has been one of the most joyful experiences. I think you mentioned in the intro, mentoring this young woman at Hallam ICS. She took over the local SWE section. And one of the things that was important to me after the pandemic was returning to in-person and in my Vermont specific community building. But I didn't want to take over again as the full leader. I'd already been up to middle management within the Society of Women Engineers, and I really wanted to see succession planning and a future legacy for our local section. And so a great friendship and a beautiful mentorship relationship came on when a young woman raised her hand to take a big risk and be a community leader, president of the local SWE section. And this is kind of my advice to really anyone. Whenever you're making those big leaps, you don't ever actually have to do it 100% by yourself. Build your personal board of directors, build your support network, It's completely reasonable and understandable for us to need to rely on one another as we're getting our bearings in a new role and a new level of influence. No one has to do it alone, contrary to what it seems like on LinkedIn.
I have a huge support network. I've got a support network of like, it's been growing so much, but hundreds of, I guess, like-minded individuals. It's a big, diverse group uh, of engineers that have that itch that want to be higher impact, right? And we all lean on each other with questions. We have a specific social group that we are a part of. And then I have a coach too. Like I run my ideas by a coach. And when I have a goal and I'm ready to I execute. So as soon as I have that idea, or if Steve comes up with a great one, usually, and I go, Steve, such a good idea. I'm ready to just run through the wall and be like, I did it. A coach will take me and point me kind of like in the right direction. Like he's like, hey, there's a door over there. You could go over there and walk through it, so you don't have to plow through the wall. I'm like, oh, okay, I'll go that way. So coach does that for me very well. And then of course, at your company you have groups. Hopefully your company has groups that support you as well, where you can ask questions and stuff like that. So
Yeah, and if your company doesn't have groups, create it yourself.
Mhm.
That's something that I was fortunate enough to be able to do at my company. Is we went through a large group of us went through a leadership training, and a few of us were like, hey, let's just meet monthly and talk about either our struggles or new things that we're trying out, etc. And build off of that momentum that we're all creating. So if there isn't a specific group already established, just make it yourself.
there you go.
Totally create your community. And actually, that brings me to a good point, really to talk from a diversity and inclusion perspective. But one of the ways you personally, or even if you're a company or organization, big or small, creating things like affinity spaces or employee resource groups, it's a really great way to generate that community of like-minded, like experience per professionals.
Mm.
Alongside of my time in Society of Women Engineers, I have spent a lot of time working either within SWE, creating affinity spaces for LGBTQIA plus, people of color, business interests, different career stages. They call them affinity groups. In the professional private sector space, they're more like employee resource groups. They have a similar bent to them. There's women interest networks, pride organizations within your company, and those are actually affinity spaces so that they're a safe space, but also they're a way for employees to advocate for their holistic needs, from a group perspective. So
Mhm.
within any organization, the more voices you have, the more influence you have. And a really, really solidly well run company from a D&I perspective will actively embrace and support those types of organizations with budget, champion them, applaud them. One of my companies that I worked for would constantly be posting the achievements that their affinity spaces were doing. They would post them to their own social media,
Mhm.
congratulating them and actively fund them. And that's what we want to see. We want to see grassroots collective of people driving the programming, but top down enthusiastic support. And it is an incredible, not only just professional development opportunity, but personal development opportunity to organize and drive one of those uh,
Mhm.
organizations within a company
That
or a
is
nonprofit.
Yeah, that is something that I think Hallam ICS can do better with, and here's why. We have our Hallam community. We have programs. We have resource groups. We have things that I guess I wouldn't call them exactly resource groups, but we have committees for purposeful learning and exploration and communicating that back to the entire company as a group. What we don't do enough of, I don't think, and I'll definitely bring this up, is share that and be people facing outside of the company. I think there might be a little bit of a, hey, this is how we do it, and we want to just be ours, and it might be a little inward thinking. I think there's a chance there to be a little more open, just so that we can show for everyone that comes across it what's happening and what we're doing within the company that could drive that D&I and space, or that initiative, or that whatever we want to frame it as. That this is a place. This is one of those places that come check us out, and it's a good career in engineering that has a focus on being diverse and inclusive, right? I think we can do a better job being outwardly facing with that.
Yes, just as long as the content and programming supports the outward facing.
Correct. Yeah.
Yes.
And that's going to be an immediate conversation that
Mhm.
probably a small group would be a part of. I can kind of build the
Totally.
group in my head right now of who that would be, but
And there is no comments against any one company or anything like that, but there is a lot of pressure to appear a certain way, especially in external, like social media space, especially for companies. So enabling that sort of real accountability, saying, "Hey, are we holding up to what we're sharing to the external world?" It is something that I think many companies and many people within companies are struggling with,
and,
finding that right balance.
and most people can't, or most companies can't live up to their own stated core values within their company. So
Hmm.
definitely start there.
Yes,
we're
exactly.
we're definitely well beyond that at Hallam. That's why I'm comfortable with that. But yeah, a lot of companies, I would say, well, the other two or three that I've been at, definitely either they have no core values stated and they don't really know why they're there, or they do and they're just kind of posters on the wall, and it's just sickening. It's like, ugh,
Hmm.
you know. So
Yeah, and if you're an ally, and or someone in a high up position that's passionate about this, pointing that out and holding them accountable, that's a really great first advocate step.
mhm.
What are we doing about this?
Come with an answer though. Like, that's one thing I've learned is, like, come prepared, just like at least a little prepared. Because I would
Hmm.
come flying into things and just be like, here's what I think.
Hmm.
And my the response to that was unfortunately not so good. I was hampering my career pretty hardcore by being just super loud without like any kind of how to, or here's why it's important, or here's why I
Hmm.
feel so strongly about it. I would just be like,
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah. Sometimes it's good to have proposed opportunities for them to take kind of like easy
yeah,
pickings
give them an out.
at a buffet bar or something like that. How about you recruit at a local SWE and NESB conference? Or how about you sponsor professional memberships across the entire company at these specific professional organizations? There's a
Yeah,
lot of different ways that you
yeah,
could do it a lot very easily to support your employees.
totally. What do you got, Steve? You're looking over there like you got something. Let it out.
Oh yeah. My voice is a little raspy from I don't know, getting over being sick or something. But uh, back to the equity side of things. Earlier in our conversation, um, what I something I've seen in the past is when women are brought into the teams, a lot of team members and managers that are men don't know how to interact. And one of my biggest encouragements is just to ask. Right, you can ask the women themselves. You can ask other men. And the other aspect is that I want to touch on and get your opinion is, um, a lot of times the projects or the work given to the women engineers is like on the softball side, right? Because they feel bad about giving them a really challenging project. And I think that's a disservice, to their abilities, and it's not an equal opportunity to prove their engineering excellence. And so you should always challenge every engineer as an engineer, and that's it.
Is that an
Right?
unconscious bias thing?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Going back to that,
Okay.
right? So I just want to kind of get your thoughts on those things.
Yeah, I think I'll even start with a story of my own experience. Early
Awesome.
tenure, I was a very motivated individual, wanting to make sure I was having an impact and just doing well. When you're first out of school, you don't have a sense of what good work life looks like in general. What are the expectations? If I'm eating a lunch for an hour with my friends, is that good? I have so many new hires that say, I don't want to call the utility bill company during the day because I don't want them to think I'm taking time away from work. I was like, you can do that.
Yeah.
So, but so early on in my career, I would always ask for feedback on my performance, and good, bad, I always wanted something that I could be working towards, because I was looking to meet that next level of technical expertise. I wasn't going to necessarily take it as a criticism. I just wanted to keep driving forward. And my male managers could not handle that question. They're like, no, you're doing great. And so I had to be really directed and pointed and saying, I want to get promoted. What do I need to do to be able to do that? Because otherwise, like you said, they wouldn't necessarily want to give me any sort of feedback for some sort of not wanting to hurt my feelings somehow.
Yeah.
Like walking on eggshells or something? Is that the kind of feeling they have?
Yeah. And it really is treating them as children, even new hires, treating them like children instead of adults. And so I really love the phrase, use your words. So when all my best managers would approach me with an opportunity and say, hey, I think that this is a really great opportunity for you. What do you think? Does this fit with where you are looking to go and what you want to do right now? And
that's a great way to put it.
Yes. And I think that use your words is something that needs to be done in all aspects of your life. I have new hires that show up and say, I don't know what they're thinking. And I was like, well, have you asked? And then, I mean, it's the same in relationships outside of work. And if there's someone who can't handle that type of direct communication, that I see that as a red flag. If someone says, hey, tries to sidestep a direct conversation where you say, hey, I'm really looking to improve. I really need this type of communication. If you aren't getting anywhere by using your words, I see that as something needs to change. And that's how I feel about executive leadership too. More often than not in executive leadership, there's a tendency to feel like I don't actually need to use my words so much because I'm busy. I have to be really efficient with my time. I have to influence a lot. And so there's almost a lack of communication. Other people can figure out what I mean. But if you're really looking to create a safe space for everybody, being clear and thoughtful about your words is the number one way to do that. And giving lots of opportunity for a back and forth type of conversation. That's how we get clarity.
Yes.
Yeah. It's like exercising radical candor. I don't know if you've read that book.
Oh, love radical candor. Haven't read
one of my
book.
favorites.
Love the concept though.
Yep. Yeah, it's
that
one
is
of my
my
favorites.
style,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So you want to show the empathy and that you care, but you need to be direct to give that appropriate feedback and solicit the feedback back towards yourself. Right. So,
and women or, any underrepresented group, this isn't really just for women either. It, if you're not getting those projects, or if you're looking for more or something different, you advocate for yourself. Use those words as well. I definitely, there was a situation in my time where I was perfect for this special assignment. It was going to be in a foreign country. And I was like, they're going to tap me on the shoulder. Like, this has me written all over it. And I waited 2 weeks and no one had approached me. And so I go to my second level, I slack her, and I'm like, why aren't you asking me to do this? This has my name written all over it in bright headlights. And her response was, you want to do this? Sometimes we have to keep in mind that our managers and our executives are people too. They don't always have ability to mind read and know what we're interested in. So if you see something that you want, say it out loud.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is good because I have one of those, and I'm going to ask the question as soon as we get off of this recording here, because I have one where I even talked to some people. We went to a career fair lately, and I brought this up. I said, man, I really thought I was going to be the clear choice to do this thing, and no one's asked me, and I really feel like I'm the one. So I'm going to ask about it. I'm not going to do the typical old Jake Flair and come in and go, what the fuck you guys thinking? I'm the perfect. That is, man, I mess that up a lot. I'm going to ask the question and just see where that goes. So I'm totally going to do it right after this.
Yeah. So really, if you expect or want to solicit that direct feedback and direct communication, you need to be proactive in giving that direct communication as well, right? So otherwise, they'll think that that's not how you communicate. So if you're upfront and you are direct initially, you will reciprocate that communication back towards yourself.
Yes. And, I do want to be clear that historically, especially for women or people socialized as women, assertiveness hasn't always been rewarded. So it is understandable if that's hard. There was at one point where I had a job offer at another company, and it was a little low. And it certainly wasn't necessarily worth making the transition for. So I simply gave them that factual feedback. I was like, hey, look, I think you're going to need to come up on that to make it really worthwhile for me, given all of these conditions. And, I was working with a really tough male recruiter, and he's like, I'm rescinding the offer. So it doesn't come without risks for women, but I have only truly benefited by being direct, because it has helped weed out situations where I was like, this isn't really going to work. I did not feel bad for a single second when that person rescinded that offer, because I was like, this is not a place that's really supportive, period.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've done that quite a few times, not that exact scenario, but with the feedback, it's like, okay, well, that's their feedback. It has nothing to do with you. It just,
No.
okay, you're not in the position for us to collaborate right now, basically. So,
Oh, and
great.
then like a few months later, I got a 20% raise. So it's not always the worst thing in the world.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. It would take a hell of an offer for me to step out of Hell of ICS and go do something else.
Totally.
And when anyone ever comes, I mean, because I'm so active on LinkedIn, right? So recruiters are just, you get the copy paste ones, and I'm like, nope. Like, you could tell they're just kind of mass, putting the hook out there. And then there's some that talk a little good, and I go, okay, let's see what you got. Like, and I say, these are the terms. Nope. It's like, I kind of got the feeling. Thanks for reaching out. So, hey, we're coming up on our 50-minute mark. That usually tells me to, ask our final questions. But I did want to hit, and we could have talked about it a little bit earlier, but I want people to really listen to what a good ally looks like, and maybe an example or two of this idea of allyship and what the person trying to be the ally can do? How do they frame that? How do they act?
Yeah, so thinking through a lot of the allyship work I've done, and the talks that I've given, we have kind of three phases of allyship or advocacy, um, whichever word works better for you, whether it's ally or advocate. I think a lot of people prefer advocate because of the active stance it takes
Mhm.
in the success of whoever you're advocating for.
Yeah.
Um, but there's three stages, just like anything is a skill. I truly believe that allyship and advocacy is a skill as well. And so as we're learning, we have to start with education, right? We're really focusing internally, building up those initial skills, educating ourselves, getting the language right, understanding
Yeah.
why it's important and why you care very much for it, that anchor point, because that anchor point is going to be really important as you navigate through early early successes and early failures. It is normal and even expected to fail when you're developing a new skill. This is the same in your allyship journey as well. And developing the ability to check your ego at the door and accept feedback and say, hey, thanks very much for that understanding, that lived perspective. Thank you really very much for taking the time to educate me on something I was saying that maybe wasn't totally correct. Those are all such important skills for your allyship journey, and actually is going to really help you in your career, because as soon as you open yourself up to that level of empathy and approachability, you will get so much more information and people will be so much more willing to work with you. um,
Yep.
from there, from that early stage, you then go into a more active stage where you're actively taking action. That might include going and advocating to your top leadership or holding them accountable if you're in a place of power that says, hey, I really want to see metrics on this reported out on D&I, reported out at a all hands. Or, hey, why isn't that in our strategy? Am I creating a male allyship group to help work specifically on improving diversity, inclusion, equity, and belonging in my organization? Am I donating? Making sure you understand and creating a plan of, okay, here are the things that I can do. And as you said, Jake, we all have full lives, families, all of those things. It's really an aspect of making sure that we're taking the action that makes sense and we're able to give back and create community in a way that makes sense for us. Sometimes if you have young kids at home, sometimes that might only look for like donating or showing up at where in your spaces and making sure that people's voices are included. That is active allyship as well. It doesn't always have to look like starting and organizing and leading. It could
Yeah.
be about perpetuating a culture of inclusivity in everything that you do. So that's the next phase. And then there's a whole phase of integration. And and one of the things that we need to understand as allies is that there are so many different intersecting identities that everybody has. I attended a talk that was really, really interesting that helped me understand how broadly everyone has more than likely some aspect of them that, can be giving support as part of a majority group, and could receive support as part of an underrepresented group. We have so many different ways that we can support each other, that everyone needs each other and to build that community. And so kind of the integration is understanding the key skills and integrating them into your everyday life and into the business processes and the organizations that you exist in, building everything from the ground up in a more inclusive way, whether that's people with making sure that we support people with disabilities just as much as we're including people of color. Vermont's a very, very white state. That is a huge challenge for us to make sure that we're recruiting and also supporting thriving people of color communities in and around the state. All of those things, they connect to one another, and that top level of proficiency enables you to work within that space rather quickly. Everyone is in a different space on that journey, and everyone is in a different place depending on the different types of underrepresented groups they're interfacing with.
Yep. And that's really good. I'll just tie it to something that I can actually draw on from my personal experience. And that is, if you allow something to become a part of your life and it's who you are, you're way more likely to be successful in it than if you're looking at it as something you need to do, accomplish, and then set to the side. So it's not take fitness, for an example. Okay. I know that's just whatever. Get past it, guys. We're going to talk about fitness right now.
Yeah.
Just for a second. I'm 35 years old. Since I was 15, I've been in the weight room. Great. Why did I go in the weight room? Well, because all of my brothers and my uncles and my grandpa and my dad are giants. Okay. I'm 5'6". They're all 6'3" and above. Right. So I needed to work out a little bit. But anyway, to tie it back to it, it's my periods of most success with weight, working out, longevity, feeling good has been when I've adopted the mindset of a fit and healthy person. Not when I've said, I'm going to use this 2 to 3 months stretch to do one thing really hard, and then I'm going to and then I don't have to do it anymore. That is not the way that it gets done. So tying it back to D&I is, you're going to build it into the fabric of your being, and the longevity of the business depends on that being a part of the business, if that makes sense. So
absolutely.
Yeah, trying to tie it together in the best way I can.
I love it. That's exactly it. Integration.
All right. Stephen, did you want to pose your question for Stephanie?
Absolutely. Yeah. So wrapping up the entire conversation, we do ask 2 common questions with all of our guests. And the first one is, in your eyes, what makes an impactful engineer?
Yeah, I love this question. And my answer hails back to my manufacturing engineering days. As a manufacturing engineer, it was my goal to make it really impossible to fail. We have operators doing a lot of work manually, and there's a lot of fail points. And I took that into really a mantra of mine, except I flipped it a little bit. And I say, instead, make it easy to succeed. And I love this motto because, making it easy to succeed, it means knowing what success looks like, and that's where we want to go, and then creating a system and structure to make it inevitable. And that's what being an impactful engineer is to me.
I love that. Yeah. Set your goalposts and create the path to get there. Mm-hmm. And it'll happen.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And so my question, it's the typical one action that someone can take today to move in a certain direction or towards where you would like to influence them to go, or invite them to come along.
Yes. So I would love everyone to start their allyship journey. And the start of the allyship journey is education. And one easy way to do that, and coming back to that integration discussion, we all scroll social media. I know we don't want to, but we all do it more than we think we do or think we would want to. Start following strong diversity education profiles, influencers. Follow Society of Women Engineers on social media, NSBE, SHIP. Those are professional organizations in support of Black engineers and Hispanic engineers. They put out amazing, well-researched information about the state of engineering for these underrepresented groups. It's an easy way to get that education a little clip at a time.
Mm-hmm. I love that. So I would say immerse yourself before you
Yes,
think that you're ready to, or whatever being ready to means. Just immerse yourself in it. Because the more you
totally.
hear it, the more you get involved, the more you're going to understand, right? And then to be able to develop in that area. So perfect answer. Love that. Get into it. So Stephanie, this was a great episode. It's packed with tons and tons of good content. I know people are going to get a lot out of it. And we really appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you so much. It was fun.
Hey guys, I hope you had a great time listening. Maybe you learned something new, maybe you got inspired, or at least took one thing away that you'd be able to use. Maybe you just had a good laugh. Impactful Engineering's hope and mission is that through this podcast, we can play a small part in expanding the reach and awareness of engineering and all of its many areas of application. The multiple engineering career paths available can be hugely rewarding as part of a fulfilled life, creating opportunity to impact nearly everyone in the modern world. An engineer's work helps to foster creation of new technologies, create safe and comfortable environments in which people can work, and lends to the sustainable future of everyone on the planet. The world needs more impactful engineers. Our vision is to provide engineers with the perspective and the tools to allow themselves the opportunity to become the most impactful engineers they can be. Included in our vision is to grow the impactful engineering community to a point where we can provide full ride scholarships to students in every single U.S. state every single year. This is an enormous goal, and with your help, we can get there. To start, we will continue to execute this mission in the way that we know how, having conversations, telling stories, and talking about what we find interesting and are passionate about. If the episode made you think, made you object, made you think you could possibly be doing something more with your day, or brought about an idea that you could spend more time on developing further, please share the show or recommend it to your friends. Even if you didn't personally think it was a huge help, there may be someone that you know that could benefit from it, and that's all we can ask for. Until next time on the Impactful Engineer Podcast.